What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. I figured this was kind of worth talking about on two levels, right? So we did the 4 dummies kind of specifically about the Unicron to give as much information and as much opinion about the Unicron as possible. Today, we're going to talk about it in a broader sense. I think it's enough meat on this bone to kind of spread it out between the two. But I tell you what, let's start off on a more not negative note, but just serious note. I got a comment this week on the Han Solo sideshow that said, I find it surprising that you haven't done a video on the Unicron. Like, can you tell me why? Like, the answer to that is, I got a wife. I have 3 kids. I have this channel. I have the Patreon, which puts out more content than this channel. I have 2 podcasts weekly to put out. I have a career. I have friends. I have, like, family. Like, if nothing else, I think I've shown that I do everything I can to produce what I hope to be insightful, also entertaining and informative content, and juggle it all. Just trust me. It'll all come. You don't have to ask if I'm going to do it. If it's something this big, of course I'm going to do it. Just trust me. For 5 years, I've been trying to squeeze a 25th hour into the day, and I just can't seem to do it. So sometimes things get delayed. All right, enough about that. Some people were asking why I didn't have certain talks about, like the DJD, for instance, from Iron Factory in the third-party panel wrap-up. But the answer is because we've seen it before. I try to mainly kind of just focus on newer stuff that we haven't seen. Every now and then something is really worthwhile to kind of address, but overall it's more of the cost-benefit thing. Like we've talked about this, it's blue in the face, we're good. The horse is dead and beaten. So there's a small possibility. I got my Star Wars discussion video up on Thursday. Hope you guys dug that. That was a lot of work, a lot of research, and shout out to Andy for helping me with that if it's come out. If not, shout out to Andy in the future because it is coming. Shout out to the group Fans Toys Masterpiece Official. They show me a lot of love over there. They asked if I would give them some love back, and the answer is of course yes. So if you like Fans Toys stuff, check out their group. They cover a lot of stuff and had a lot of discussions. I hope that it's healthy discourse in there. That's the way it should be. The Imaginarium Art Optimus Prime. That doesn't belong to me. It was a loaner. We mentioned it early in the video, but I can see how if you weren't really focused in, you could miss it. But yeah, that's not mine, and I still need to do a discussion on Patreon about that because I have a lot of feelings, but I've kind of been wrestling with them, so that's coming as well. And with that, I think that we can get going. So let's talk about this HasLab and the Pulse. For one, I find it interesting that HasLab is on its own website and still has the Barge stuff up, and they've kind of moved everything over to Hasbro Pulse now, including the lab. I guess that makes sense to kind of keep everything under one umbrella, but it is bizarre to me. I feel like they should just shut down the Barge site and just keep it moving at that point. Let's talk about it though. So the Barge hit, right? The Barge hit at Toy Fair, and it went up for a pre-order or whatever for it to be backed, and it needed 5,000 backers. It ended up getting 8,000 and some backers, but it needed 5,000. Speaking of which, that's another thing on the Dummies this past week. For whatever reason, a couple slides didn't make it out. Like they didn't get transferred out of the file. So when I went to upload it, there's like a couple slides missing. I apologize about that. I don't know what happened there. But it doesn't matter. Back to the Pulse. They revealed it at Toy Fair. It looked amazing. It was one of those things for me where I was like, man, I know I have to have this. But I still waited because I was just unsure about the whole thing, unsure about how I felt about it, even though I knew I wanted it. So it came in. It's beautiful. It's painted to the nines. The plastic feels great. It's sculpted from A to Z. It has tons of gimmicks and accessories, and they really gave it everything they had. Of course, there's always a few things in your head that you'd be like, man, I wish they would have done this, or I wish they would have done that, or a little tweaks in here and there, but for the most part, honestly, not for nothing, it's one of the most beloved pieces in my collection. It's a statement piece. It looks tremendous. So just think about it for a second. I have a series of DTOFs with Hot Toys in them, and it's a beautiful collection, and it's well lit, the whole bit. And on top of it, I have a 3 3/4 piece. You know, so it's like kind of the one end of the spectrum regarding collectibles and the other end of the spectrum regarding collectibles, and guess what? It fits in. That's how well that thing is done. So they did that. It needed 5,000 backers. It ended up getting 8 and some change, maybe even close to 9, and it came out. Took a long time. They do give you updates and stuff, and they even sent a book along with it that was like, I think it was even prior to, where they show kind of the production steps and stuff. So I dig all that stuff. I like all the behind the scenes and ins and outs and nooks and crannies of a process. So I'm into that sort of stuff. That's a $500 sand barge I have absolutely no no regrets. Zero. So the next thing they did is this Cookie Monster. Now the Cookie Monster is life-size. I don't think it's a super stupid idea. I would imagine there are passionate Sesame Street fans out there, and especially Cookie Monster fans, like he's obviously one of the bigger characters from that series. However, it doesn't look like the numbers are reflecting that people may be interested in it. I'm not sure if that kind of niche of fandom is as much into the collectible aspect. You know what I mean? I just don't know. And I could be wrong about it. I mean, there's a Sesame Street like park in Pennsylvania or something. Like, I mean, it's a huge thing, right? But I'm just not sure if the people that are fans of it are also the type that would get a life-size, highly articulated, I think, because I think it has like a skeleton in it and everything else, and I think it has like real plush and all, you know. So I don't know if they're just those type of folks, you know. I think they're usually the type of, like, I don't know, I'm happy with a $20 stuffed animal. That's cool too, but I'm just not sure if they're trying to sell a filet mignon to a vegetarian audience. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we get this Unicron, right? So we're gonna talk about this Unicron as far as what they're saying. Then we're gonna talk about the kind of culture and the more nitty gritty. So it needs 8,000 backers. It has 1,000 and some change. It's got 45 days left. He's going to be a little over 27 inches tall with 50 points of articulation, including movable eyes and teeth and articulated fingers. Transforms into the planet that's 30 inches in diameter. It also comes with a stand to display the planet on, and it weighs 19 pounds. The planet mode has that gimmick where you turn the bits and it kind of opens up the thing and the things spiral out and all that, which I actually think is super cool. And it's $575, right? $574.99, which I'm sure is some business reason for that. Like, I'm sure if it's $575, it puts you in this pocket for such and such, so they put $574.99. So let's address a couple things first. There are people that are outside of the US and I believe Canada, I think that's who it's open to right now, that are saying, well, what about us, right? We're fans too, and I'm with you. I do know that with the Barge, they opened it up to a larger audience afterward. Like, the Barge reached a certain point, and then they opened it up to the UK and maybe a few others in the Western Hemisphere. I can't recall at this point, but I know that was a thing. So I would say that your options are this: find a friend that can use your information, that you trust, that you can get the thing for you, and then have it shipped to you. You know, that's one of the things that can be great about this community, is if you make relationships and then can help each other when in need. And your other option is to sit and wait and see if anything opens up. You know, you could have something lined up for August 29th or whatever, and then say, look, I'm going to give it till August 29th to see if it opens up in the UK. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, then I'll ship to that. And I'm just using UK as an example. Plus, it looks like that the Takara Tomy Mall might already have plans to carry them. And I've seen people upset about that as well. And it's like, look, we can't have it both ways, all right? We can't be mad at them for not distributing it to the rest of the world and then be mad at them for having an option to distribute it to the rest of the world, okay? We gotta pick one or the other. And I'm okay, I'll back it whichever way you wanna go, but we only gotta do one. But it should also be noted, I don't think that you'll see the Takara Tomy Mall thing happen if the Hasbro backing falls through. If that doesn't happen, the mall is out. You'll be that kid coming out of the mall with no bags. What was wrong with that guy? I do think they should try to offer it to the world. You would think they'd have a decent market for it in a lot of other places, right? Okay, let's dig deeper. Let me tell you what I like about it. I like the presence. I like the spikes. I like the wings. I like the general sculpt. I like all the sculpted line work. I think it adds to the idea and the illusion that it's bigger than it actually is. And it's big enough already, I think. I think that the size of it is an appropriate size. Of course, it doesn't scale properly, but it never will, right? So I think that it is better to have it be significantly taller than a city bot, and then you can kind of just in your head justify it, right? You can say, this is just to illustrate this is bigger than this is to illustrate it's bigger than this. We had this discussion with the idea of masterpiece scaled city bots on Sit Down Saturday. One of the things that you do have to take into account, though, is your logistic space. I can tell you that I started thinking about the Barge before I bought it. I had to plan out where I was going to put it, because it's a huge piece, and unless you have the space to display it, why are you buying it? You know what I mean? Like, if you can't see it, if you can't appreciate it, that kind of investment, why get it? So make sure you have a space. I think the planet mode looks amazing. Like, I'm going to be tempted to keep it in planet mode because I probably am not going to love the robot mode in person. And that's one thing we got to talk about, because that's one of the main things that's keeping me from jumping right on this, right? Is that I just have this long history of Hasbro Transformers and just not being satisfied with them. So at that price point, it's like, do I spend this much money on something that I'm not satisfied with? And the answer might be yes, because because of the planet mode. And I can kind of display the planet mode, it'll look beautiful, and I can be happy with that. And I'm not saying I won't be happy with the Unicron, I'm just saying there's certain things that I expect, and I just don't know if it's going to be there. I don't know if it's going to look finished. I don't know if the plastic is going to look cheesy. Yellow, that yellowish orange and all that, like that's a hard color to pull off. So I just don't know how it's going to look in that regard. I don't know how satisfied I would be with it. So that's what's making me reluctant to go in. But if it gets backed, I'm going in. That would be the kind of thing to tip me over. Like, okay, we're on board. But I should say this too, you don't get charged for it until it gets back. So I might, who knows, I might just jump in today. I'll tell you, the next time I sit down, I have a couple drinks in me, and it's on, like, I'll just put it on one of my tabs on my computer, and I'll be like, when I go to click it off, I'll be like, get rid of this, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to buy this, and then I'll make a poor decision. That's kind of how it goes. I think the face is okay. I think the upper body in general looks great. I think the thighs, pelvis, and wings look cool. I know the wings aren't exactly right, but they're not exactly wrong either, because like the wings on it, on the cartoon model, were like all gnarled too. Like they weren't this gnarly, so to speak, but they were all kind of like, you know, it wasn't like a perfect, you know, cylindrical thing. And then we have the legs, and they do look a mess. And that's another thing. It's like, man, like for this money, I just want it to be perfect, and this might not be perfect. If I want to display it in robot mode, I'll probably see if I can just take all those panels off, because it is unsightly. And we do know via companies like Fans Toys and Takara that you can engineer that stuff away. You can fold it all up and get it out of here. It's been proven. So it's just a matter of why didn't they do it, and did they think that, because that's the struggle, right? That's the problem, is that this company makes children's toys, right? Their marketing is aimed at collectors, but the product itself is aimed for children because it has to pass all this safety stuff and be presentable for children. And that's cool. I'm okay with that. But the problem is like, well, now it's not. Right? This is not. This is $575, and you have to buy ahead of time and all this. So this is for adults. But is it going to be made like their children's line? SDCC is already upon us. That Hot Toys Ewok is mine. But we see pictures of this thing from the back. Every time we see more pictures of this thing, it starts to look less and less appetizing to me, I have to admit. I'm not saying that I'm out. I'm just saying that every additional picture we get doesn't make me feel better about it. It makes me feel worse. How kibbly the backpack is, I can almost get over. It's the kibble around the legs, it's wrapping around the legs, it's on the side, it's on the back. It's like shingles or the chicken pox. Like it's like spreading, which is a bummer. But like I said, it's still not a deal breaker yet. It's harder and harder to defend it as I see it. Now I've heard that they're not gonna have all the waffles and stuff like that we kind of have come to expect from the main line. But I mean, it's the same level of plastic, I would imagine, and I would imagine it's the same paint and the same type of stuff. Like, you know, so there's gonna be some similarities. It's just going to feel like a higher end, much like the Barge, but the Barge has an easier way to pull that off, right? It doesn't have to do the same tricks. Do you know what I mean? So SDCC is today, and I'm sure we'll get more images, and you know, there'll probably be more stuff for people to talk about and whatever. But I know we have to discuss this price. I don't think the price is outrageous. I don't. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. And yes, you can get other stuff for this money. I 100% agree. And you can get better stuff for this money. I 100% agree. This comes down to, do you love this character? Do you want this character represented in your collection? And I think I do. So I'm willing to put forth the money. When I say that you can get better stuff for this money, that you can get different stuff for this money that's of higher caliber, I mean it. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that this is worth this price point. You're talking about something that's more engineered. You're talking about something that's going to be of a high parts count. You're talking about something that's going to be of a limited run. And you're talking about something that's appealing and kind of able to be consumed by a much smaller slice of people, right? The amount of people that have liquid cash available to drop on this within this given time frame, it's not everybody. The amount of people that would even be interested in spending that much money on this type of thing, it's not everybody. So you're talking about a very small slice of people in comparison to the amount of fans that you may have of the franchise. But the price is ripping these people apart. And the truth is like, look, man, the price is the price. If we don't want it for that price, speak with your wallet and don't get it. But I think I want it, and I don't think I want it for that price. but I think I'm going to spend it because I think ultimately it's going to be worth it for me. But I also want to spend it because I want to send a message. And the message that I want to send to this company is I will spend high money for high quality product. I'll buy your Barge, I'll buy your Unicron, I'll buy whatever if you make it high quality. I talked about this 2 years ago. On this channel, you could find me saying, I bet you they could do a Unicron. 2 years ago, through the HasLab. What else would we like to see? What does a Galactus look like from Marvel Legends from HasLab? What does a X-Men Blackbird look like from Marvel Legends? What does an X-Wing look like for Black Series? What does a Rancor look like for Black Series? Pinkerton and I were talking about what if they did a wave of G.I. Joe figures? You know, obviously they don't feel like they're comfortable enough with their own property to put it out at mass retail at the 6-inch scale. What if they did a wave of G.I. Joe figures? 6-inch. What does that look like? I think the door that this opens for crowdfunding for a company like this is Hasbro, right? This is not going, they're not going to take your money and run. They're held accountable to not only the people, but also the government and to shareholders and all this stuff. Like it's a different ball game. Like your money's going to be safe. So as long as they're open, their imagination, their creativity, their willingness to appease the fans, as long as that stuff is in the right pocket, they can do whatever they want with this stuff. And that's what I find exciting. What does an Arc look like? A Nemesis. They could do it. They could do Titan class combiners. You guys like that? They could do Alright, now we're getting a little out of hand now. But yeah, their options are limitless. But the support does have to be there. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying support this for the sake of supporting this. This is a big chunk of change. I'm saying if you want this and you can stomach the price, you should get it. That's my opinion. Because it sends a message. Everything burns. Sorry. It sends a message that if you make the stuff we want, how we want it, we will buy it. And it's a message that I'm not sure Hasbro has ever really understood, at least for the past 10 years. So I'm going to be watching this thing closely. I'm probably going to go in on it. I hope it gets funded. I would say there's a decent chance. They need a lot more backers and the price is more expensive. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I hope it gets made. For the people that are reluctant and don't like it and don't think it's worth the money, I understand. I do. I get it. I really do. For the people that do like it and do think it's worth the money, I also understand. I'm probably going to get it. I want to send a message and I think it's going to be a part of history. So I hope it gets made. I like this tactic though. I like it an awful lot. And I love the Barge. So here's hoping they're 2 for 2. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.